Erik Habers as the head of operation of the European Commission to Indonesia to deliver his opening address.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Benjamin Laitan, Secretary of the Ministry of Research and Technology, distinguished guests from Europe, distinguished guests from all over the Southeast Asian region. It's my pleasure to be here today to welcome you on behalf of the European Commission on such an important event, an important topic, climate change, which 1 month ahead of our UNFCCC conference in Copenhagen basically is almost in the news every day. It's not only a research priority any longer, it's very much a political priority these days. This is the moment to agree on an ambitious deal, hopefully, that will ensure that the world avoids dangerous climate change, and to actively work on the design of low-carbon development plans for which the scientific community has a key role to play. Specifically in the Indonesian setting, as representatives of the European Commission here in Indonesia, we were delighted that the President of Indonesia, President Yudhoyono, announced recently in the G20 meeting in Pittsburgh that Indonesia is committed to a plan which foresees basically a 20% reduction by 2020 from business as usual, or even up to 41%, I think was mentioned, with international support. This was very good news, and we trust that in the context of Copenhagen this will be further elaborated and can be used as a good basis for further discussion between the parties involved. In line with the Bali Action Plan, we realize that mitigation and adaptation from developing countries will need support by global finance and access to and cooperation on technologies. It is this cooperation between the EU and ASEAN, and Indonesia in particular, in science and technologies that's on the menu of your conference these days. And I'm very pleased to see such a large audience here today in Bogor. As I mentioned, the conference is extremely timely. Not only are all the eyes, as I said, these days focused on Copenhagen, in addition, in our local context here in Indonesia, the Indonesian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Martin Natalegawa, and Foreign Minister Carl Bildt of Sweden, who holds the EU presidency, signed this week actually a new partnership and cooperation agreement in Jakarta to further the cooperation between the EU and Indonesia. This new PCA, as we call it, will give further impetus to the already very strong relationship between the EU and Indonesia. And the interesting thing for this conference is that cooperation in science and technologies is explicitly mentioned in this new agreement. Similar agreements are being negotiated in other ASEAN countries. So another good base for future cooperation between the two regions in science and technology. So in terms of policy, everything seems very much in place. So what about the nuts and bolts to making this cooperation happen? Within the EU, we have a main vehicle actually to make this cooperation reality. The vehicle is known as the 7th Framework for Research and Technological Development, or popularly called FP7, and you'll see it mentioned here on the banner behind me. The program has an astronomical budget of 50 billion euros, or approximately 700 trillion Indonesian rupiah. This very impressive budget reflects, in fact, the priority given to research by the EU and demonstrate the importance we give to international cooperation in research. It's not new, it's good to see that actually in Indonesia the framework program already supports 6 international partnerships in various technological domains, and the CEUNet is one of these, in which the State Ministry of Research and Technology is actively involved with a large number of other partners, both in the region as well as in the EU. And we're very pleased that with the contribution of this project, the national contact point for FP7 has been established within Indonesia, and similarly in all other ASEAN countries. While the progress is visible, we believe that a more active participation from ASEAN scientists in FP7 would be very beneficial, not only for the region but also for Europe, as basically cooperation on a worldwide scale is necessary to notably address issues of global concern, of which of course climate change is one of them. The FP7 activities actually complement what the EU supports bilaterally in Indonesia and also in other countries in the ASEAN region. To mention a few of these, what we support in Indonesia is actions to improve the governance in the forestry sector under our Forest Law Enforcement Governance and Trade Action Plan, and which contributes to set the enabling conditions to mitigate emissions from land use and land use change and forestry. Another program which has been addressing similar issues is the Switch Asia program, which promotes sustainable consumption and production strategies in Asia. We also support the establishment of a national carbon accounting system in Indonesia in cooperation with the International Center for Agroforestry Research and the Ministry of Forestry. And we've also support actually the Indonesia's National Council on Climate Change with the provision of technical assistance. So there's a wide variety of activities actually in which we cooperate already with Indonesia and also with the region as large. As you know better than I, probably the design of response strategies, both to mitigate and to adapt to climate change, requires progress on the knowledge of specific issues we face in each region of the world. From a Southeast Asia perspective, further research is needed on a large number of topics. Carbon stored in peatland forests, notably here in Indonesia, provision of reliable data and analysis, prediction of weather patterns, and in particular increased risks of droughts and floods are all areas to be researched. And these examples show that there's a clear need and there's a demand for inputs from the research community to feed the development of climate change response strategies. And I'd like to invite you here not only to continue the very important research work, but also actively engage with us as EU, but also with the local governments in the region to underline what science tells us and what it means in terms of response to climate change. Let me conclude by saying a word of thanks to the Indonesian Ministry of Research and Technology, of course the project which has organized this event, and also the International Bureau of the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research and the German Aerospace Center in Germany, which coordinates this activity. I wish you a very good event and very prosperous discussion. I hope to see in the coming years many new partnerships being built, which hopefully can be supported through the EU's framework program. Thank you very much.